This work is really only possible when we care for one another, when we trust one another, and when we're working together to make sure that each one of us has equal access to opportunity.
Hi, good morning. My name's Phoebe and Veronica. We wanted to share some information about opportunities for voting in Fresno. This election, you'll be voting?
All of us.
Well, thank you for voting. It's a critical election. Thank you for your time. Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Take
bye.
care. Bye. A lot of people see us working across California, in our state capitol, in our city councils, in our county supervisor chambers. But what a lot of folks don't see is everything that happens behind the scenes. I am an organizer. Our team is organizing directly in communities to make sure that their voices are heard. We're building and strengthening a movement that really supports and advances a more just and healthy California.
I think none of this moves without a grassroots campaign that's community driven.
When we started Leadership Council in 2013, we started knowing that we wanted to work directly with residents to help lead and inform policy decisions at the local, regional, and state level.
There was a lot of pressure on us to decide, well, do you want to do land use or do you want to do water? Wait, now you're talking about climate, you can't do it all. You have to choose which lane you're in. And our pushback was, we have to do it all. How could we know what the best policies to push for would be if we weren't talking to community members day in and day out? People who are fighting for clean water are always also fighting for clean air. They're also the people most impacted by climate change. So if we're not doing it all, we're not doing any of it.
My name is Gracia. I work for the Fresno for All Coalition, and we're just out here canvassing the neighborhood.
We have built a team that has diverse backgrounds, diverse skill sets, and many of us come from the very communities that we're organizing today.
Oh, she's here. Hooray. Yes.
My real boss are every single resident that I work with. And I can't do anything without really making sure that it's what my bosses want. They're in charge. I'm just a worker bee, you know? It's community residents who do most of the hard work. These are the most powerful communities and community leaders that I'm like humbled to work with.
A lot of the folks that we work with here have already been leaders in their communities for decades, for much longer than I've been here, for much longer than any organization has been here. The government and other agencies are so used to making decisions on their own and without consulting the community. These agencies and decision makers need to be listening more to community residents. And when 15 or 50 people or 100 people show up to a board meeting or a community council meeting, advocating for their community and showing up in person to those spaces, that makes decision makers stop and pay attention and listen to what's actually happening. And hopefully that advocacy is shifting the way that decision makers are doing their jobs and the way that they're making their decisions.
A lot of people talk about empowerment, but this idea of empowerment is that we are bestowing power onto the powerless. The thousands of people with whom we work every day are anything but powerless. And this is anything but a one-sided relationship. If anything, the relationship that we have with communities is imbalanced in terms of we have an opportunity to learn so much from the strength, power, and kind of brilliance of communities that we're working with that simply have not had the access that we have had.
And that's what co-powerment is to Leadership Council. It's our ability to work together to develop shared solutions that will truly create a California for all. This means honoring and respecting and valuing the skill set, the expertise, and the knowledge that lives in communities, and using that to develop policy solutions in California so that it truly is a California for all and not just for some.
There are so many people who live throughout California who don't know that they have the power and the tools to influence policy as much as they do. Our work is demonstrating to people that they are as much a part of this democracy as anybody else is.
Our commitment to those we care so deeply about never wavers, despite the many challenges in getting local and state leaders to respond in meaningful ways, especially during a crisis like a worldwide pandemic. When people needed their elected leaders and government officials the most, they left us behind, and we knew who would be impacted the most. So we organized. We refused to give up. we saw what we always see in community organizing. Community always shows up for community.